I think we're going to have a really fun show today.
Good. I was looking forward to this all week. We have people watching from Tel Aviv. Aiden, and then we have somebody that I'm not gonna pronounce the name as hard to write from Sweden. Guys, please tell us where you're watching from. We're gonna be covering news from what countries, Susanna, today? Like news about religion, mostly about which countries?
Yeah, we have stories from Gaza, Iran, Afghanistan, and then kind of a surprising story coming out of the US.
Okay, and today's news are mostly tragic, happy, wholesome, ridiculous. Please say ridiculous.
Mostly
I like this.
ridiculous in the sense that like it's just um Sharia barbarity that we're going to be calling out
Mm-hmm.
and dunking on. So
Ooh, good.
I think that's important to highlight.
Yes. Oh, look, we have Benny from Minnesota watching, Kian from Belgium, Tubila from Singapore, and we have Razel from Maryland. Oh, this is great. Look, guys, keep telling us where you're watching from. We have Uzair from Illinois. Yes, Illinois, and then yes, Zaid is always here with us from Jordan. I love it when Zaid is here.
I love you,
From
Habibi.
Israel. Hello, hello, hello. Angry Keyboard Warrior from New York. Pakistani Defense Force from Karachi.
He's
Okay,
back.
he's back. Shay from Tel Aviv. Tema from Indonesia. Hi everyone. Okay, guys, I'm not gonna highlight all of them. I'm not gonna read all of them, but keep David from Florida. Okay, great. But keep telling us that so other people can see that our audience is global. It's not just our news that is global, it's also our audience that is global. All right. So, oh, by the way, I'm going to, yeah, go on.
Hammers Injure is asking, Jew tunnels? Are we going to talk about the Jew tunnels? I don't know if there was enough information for us to talk about this yet. I was kind of waiting for more to come out because it's so bizarre and confusing to me. But everyone, don't worry. I have a simple explanation for the Jew tunnels in Brooklyn. And the explanation, the simple answer is if you get enough young men together, they will start digging holes.
Right.
I
Yeah,
don't
I
know
don't
what
know
it
about
is about the boys, but the boys love to dig the holes.
that. Oh, we already got a super chat. We haven't even started, and we got a super chat. Thank you so much, Angels from Wisconsin with the $10 super chat. But guys, we're gonna need the super chats. I'm gonna keep monitoring.
I love that people are like, facts.
I don't know. Okay, I'm
for
gonna keep
for the
monitoring this.
male in the live chat, can the males please explain why you get so much satisfaction out of digging big holes together? The boys love to dig holes.
We're just, I mean, we're just curious and adventurous. Okay, this is why we go to the moon and invent stuff. Okay, maybe we should try it out sometimes. I don't know. I'm just kidding. Don't cancel me. I'm just kidding. Maybe I'm not. By the way, I'm gonna keep. Oh my God, Susie, what did we say? We already got demonetized. I was gonna explain to people that I'm gonna keep monitoring throughout the show. Like I'm gonna keep refreshing this page to see what do we say that demonetizes us. And we didn't even say anything. We're just welcoming people. We haven't even started. We got demonetized. What the hell? What did we say? Is it just the title?
I think so,
Oh my
probably.
God. I'm gonna request a review. But guys, please keep the super chats coming because we've already been demonetized. Okay, that's amazing. All right. Well, there's that. Okay.
Uzier Jabrilla is saying it was the Jew tunnels, of course.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. Okay.
I blame it
Oh,
on whichever one of you made me bring that up.
yes, who made us bring that up? Like, send us a super chat. Whoever
Yeah,
did
you better
that.
give
Make up for it.
tithe in compensation. Any
Yeah,
Jews
yeah. By the way,
recommend?
people are already making up for it. We got like 3 more super chats. Do you want to highlight those?
Oh my
And
god.
then we get
Yeah.
to the news.
Yeah. Okay, Sakai gave us a super sticker. Wait, on your phone, can you see what the super stickers are? Because they're so cute and we
Oh,
can't see them here.
we can see them here. Yes. This one is a pair giving us coffee. Well, thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm drinking my coffee. Benny Wolf also gave us a super sticker.
It's a lemon with hearts for eyes.
And Sakai gave us another $5 super sticker.
It's either a wolf or I think it's a Shibu. It's a Shibu dog going like punching like this. Yeah.
Yeah.
That.
Okay, cute. Thank you so much, you guys. Yeah, because we're setting records for demonetization today. And so your support
Yes.
is what keeps the show alive. If you want
Yeah.
another way to support the show because you love it, you have fun, you learn things, consider becoming a monthly donor on PayPal. Link is in the description below. This is the best way to support the show because I have a fragile and anxious, untrusting relationship with the YouTube partnership program. Armin believes in the YouTube partnership program more than me. But I've been burned before. My heart is broken and I have trauma and I'm scared that they will take away our monetization at any moment. So that being the case, consider supporting us on PayPal so that we can keep going no matter what.
Right. We got another super chat, by the way.
Yay! Thank you, Unicorn. Oh, hello, my friend, saying sending love and support. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you. All right, let's get into the news.
Okay.
Is it clappable?
Not really. This is kind of tragic. I mean, we can applaud this man's bravery, but in general, like a bad thing happened to him.
Bad thing happened. That's not what we're clapping for. Just make it clear. We're clapping for the bravery part. Okay. All right. First news. Brave Gazan Imam kidnapped for defying Hamas. The cost of resistance. The first reported in the Free Press, the gripping and distressing narrative of Imam Muhammad Mustaha's abduction. His son, Allah Muhammad Mustaha, recounts the stark reality of defying Hamas in Gaza. The Imam, a respected figure with a doctorate in Sharia from Al-Azhar University, was known for his unwavering principles and deep faith. On December 30th, 2023, so this is only 2 weeks ago, his home was violently invaded by 20 masked men. This abduction was a direct result of Imam Mustaha's refusal to comply with Hamas's stringent directives, including the exploitation of his mosque as a hidden weapons arsenal and the propagation of sermons dictated by the group. His family, deeply rooted in Gaza for generations, had endured persecution from Hamas long before October 7th, marked by arrests, beatings, and intimidation for refusing to toe their line. In a poignant and defiant statement, Allah Muhammad Mustafa shared his father's last words, a testament to his courage and integrity. Quote, it was his last request to us, literally as he was being carried out the door, that should he die, we should publicize the real reason for his death. And it is this: he won't preach what Hamas told him to. He refused to tell Gazans that violent resistance, obedience to Hamas is the best way out of our current hell. So this was a really incredible story that was, again, reported in the Free Press, and I wanted to cover it because I thought it was really important to show the Zayda saying, show this news to the idiots who call Hamas freedom fighters. I think it's really important to show what happens to people that speak out in Gaza, and maybe not even speak out, but just refuse just total obedience to Hamas. And this article was really informative to me because, one, it talks about how they've been
facing intimidation and threats and violence by Hamas for years. And part of this was because this Imam didn't want to preach the Hamas narrative. He didn't want to preach that violence resistance is the only thing that's worthwhile for the people in Gaza. He didn't want to preach that, like Hamas is their savior. That's not what he wanted. And it also detailed stories about how his father was forced to keep weapons in his mosque in Gaza by Hamas, where there would be people that show up with wrapped up carpets and be like, oh yeah, these are all these prayer rugs and all this stuff, but you're not allowed to look at these, and only this specific person can come look at these and take them. They're weapons. Or they would force him to hide cash in his mosque. So basically using the mosques and civilian infrastructure to hide and shield their operations. And it also detailed how they've been trying to resist Hamas for years. But what the cost is that they get beaten, they get assaulted, they get arrested. Their sisters are threatened with vague intimidation, tactics. Like, and it painted a firsthand account for me about how the extortion of Hamas works. And I think that's important for people to understand, because when looking at the behavior of civilians in Gaza, there's many things to take into account. But I think it's also useful for people to take into account that in many cases, people are extorted into behaving. They're threatened into doing what this terrorist group says. And one thing that I found so interesting about this article was that this article is written in the first person by this Imam's son. And he talks about how, ironically, it is when Hamas is fighting that they go underground. It is during the fighting that the civilians are most able to speak out. They're able to speak out when there's fighting because Hamas is underground. So it's actually during the fighting, during wartime, that they have more ability to express themselves freely, because there's less operatives above ground to come terrorize them. And that was very insightful for me. And I also really wanted to highlight the bravery of this man. It's so powerful to me that literally, as he's being dragged out the door, he's screaming to his children, "You let the world know exactly who did this to me. Don't let anyone twist it. Don't let anyone become confused about who is responsible for my suffering or potential death." They said his last request was, literally as he was being carried out the door, that should he die, we should publicize the real reason for his death. And it is this: he refused to tell Gazans that violent resistance and obedience to Hamas is the best way out of our current hell. That was just incredibly powerful to me. Armin, what did you think when I told you about this story?
I thought about how on point this guy was, and I'm going to say something that might seem contradictory to the things that we've been trying to say before, but it's not. And it also might seem very insensitive, okay? But bear with me, okay? So this war between, Hamas and Israel will continue until one thing happens. Okay, this war keeps continuing because both the people in Israel and in Palestine are convinced that the path forward is to continue fighting, right? When you have two people on both sides agree that stopping the war is not the right solution, then the war, guess what will happen? The war will continue. And between these two people, these two groups of people, again, not all of them, but the majority of Israelis and the majority of Palestinians believe that resistance, fighting military resistance is the path forward. That's what gets them victory. And at least one of these two groups is wrong. One of these two groups is delusional to think that they will become victorious by fighting. Okay. And it's not the Israelis. Right. And here's the thing. We have shown you stats that shows that Hamas is not very popular in Gaza, but resistance is, like, fighting is. Like, the reason why Hamas is not popular in Gaza is not because they're fighting Israel. It's because of their corruption, and it's because of the way that they treat Palestinians, right? But even among Palestinians, unfortunately, even among many Palestinians who don't like Hamas, they still like fighting Israel. That is the truth. We have to say, again, not all, but most, unfortunately. And this Imam, the reason why this Imam, so there's two levels of bravery, right? One is to be anti-Hamas, but that is kind of common in Gaza. It is not that hard to find people who are against Hamas in Gaza, right? And that's brave. I'm not saying that that's not brave, but it is common. But this is another level, and the next level that I thought this guy was kind of representing is not to just be anti-Hamas, but it's also being anti-fighting. That is another level that this guy has seemed to have managed to upgrade to, that we need more Palestinians. Again, we have seen what happened to, again, a lot of people think that the way to peace is ceasefire. The way to peace is to stop fighting, because it just seems so intuitive. You want peace? Stop fighting. But that's not how it works. Sometimes, many times, the way to peace is to continue to fight, right? The peace that, for example, we brought about after World War II was because the Allies managed to crush their enemy, right? The peace that we brought in Germany was not because people didn't fight, was because people decided to fight. Look at what happened eventually to Japan and Germany. Look at all the Arab countries in the region that Israel decided to fight with and defeat. Look at what happened to the way that Israel managed to bring peace with Egypt and Jordan, right? Was not through not fighting, was because they decided to fight. And the disservice, that the betrayal of many Muslims and Arabs around the world to the Palestinians is selling them this delusion that one day they will be victorious if they keep fighting, because they're not the ones who are doing the fighting. The Muslims and many of the progressives all around the world, they constantly are encouraging the Palestinians and selling them this lie that you are heroes and keep on resisting, and one day it will be your turn to, the other Arab countries around the region, they stop fighting, and now that's the reason why they have their country. That's the reason they accepted Israel as a reality. They accepted that Israel is not going to go away, and the only way for Palestinians, eventually for them to have their own country and have some level of peace for themselves, is to just give up fighting, is to accept that Israel is not going to go away, to accept that they have been defeated, to accept that that they are inferior in economy, in technology, in military power, and you are just being pushed to serve other people's agenda. This is not your agenda. You're not fighting your war. You're fighting the Islamic Republic of Iran's war. You're fighting many other interest groups' war. You're fighting leftist progressives in Western countries' war. This is the war you're fighting for them. You're gaining nothing out of this. Right? And the moment they realize that they're being pushed by other people, and they are, other people the people who are encouraging you to fight, they don't care about you. They're sending you to fight in a war, and it will bring you nothing but misery, nothing but poverty, nothing but anxiety, nothing but blood, nothing but your loved ones under the rubble for years and years. And until you wake up and realize that there's nothing that you can gain out of this war, that's the first day that you could start building your future.
I think that's really, really poignantly said, Armin. One thing that worries me, though, is if essentially the sense of honor will allow that to happen. Because you're right. There are numerous examples across history where when a country comes to terms with their defeat, looks things starkly in the mirror and be like, okay, we need to stop the fighting, accept these terms, where they have since had economic miracles and become super forces in the global, world and community. But you have to come to terms with that before you can actually move forward. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, before we move on from this segment, I think I want to read 2 more quotes from this article about this man and his family. He's saying, "I know that if Hamas kills my father, they'll say that the Israeli army did it. But my father was very keen that even if he died, we should make known the despicable demands they made of him." He also said, "They do all this brainwashing to make you think that the cause of our suffering is Israel. But I see very, very clearly who causes our suffering." And
Perfectly said.
Yeah. So I think we should all try to have a lot of sympathy for the people that are held hostage, essentially, by terrorist forces around the world. This includes the Yemenis under the control of the Houthis. This basically includes Iran. This includes Afghanistan. There are a lot of people that have no choice into where they're born, and who controls their population. And speaking out about it can come at the cost of your life. So people who are willing to risk paying that price deserve a lot of celebration and admiration, regardless of their race, ethnicity, where they're born, their religion, any of that. Because it's more courageous than I think most of us could ever summon. Should we go on to the next segment? Oh no, we got a bunch of super chats.
Yes. We did. Thank you, guys.
Oh my goodness. Ernie just gifted 10 Atheist Republic membership. That's so generous. Thank you, Ernie. Guys, if you were just awarded one of the memberships from Ernie, please drop our new Atheist Republic emojis in the live chat. You got to show off, your new swag, the new stuff you got.
We need to get more emojis.
I know, I'm working on it because, okay, I want to make emojis for Elliot and Anna, but I've been trying to figure out what kind of facial expressions would be best for their emojis. It's a little bit that's a difficult decision.
Right. We could use Dolly to make that.
Yeah.
The
Well,
ChatGPT. Yeah.
I was thinking it would be better if they're all in the same family, so we'd go back to the artists that made our original ones.
Oh yes. Okay, let's
Yeah.
do that. Let's do that. Okay.
Because otherwise they would like look different and that'd be strange. All colors are entombed in black gave us a €10 super chat. Thank you. That's very generous. Saying, I apologize for interrupting you, but I'd like to ask if any one of you can give me unbiased source on the water dispatching issue in Palestine and Order 158 because the BBC isn't that reliable. This is way too specific for my knowledge. I don't know if you know anything about this,
Yeah.
Armin.
No, I don't know. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know about this. I haven't heard about
Unfortunately, the answer is no. I cannot give you more info.
No. Yes.
Um,
You could use France 24 is a good source of news. And if you France 24 and DW News are the best. If you're looking for unbiased sources of information, those are the two best ones.
mhm.
Yes.
Zaid is saying, look at yesterday's live stream to find Anna's facial expressions. True. Armin and Anna did the funniest live stream on anal jihad yesterday. If you guys haven't watched that, you should, because that was freaking hilarious. And you're right, Anna's faces were so funny. And Dolly's asking if this article is available in Arabic. No, I don't think so.
I mean, if you search for the guy's name in Arabic, I'm sure something will come up.
That's a good point.
All right.
Yeah, or use like ChatGPT to translate it.
Oh yeah, there's that as well. Yeah.
I love how people are like, oh that live stream. I learned so much.
Yes, go check it out. All right, is the next stream clappable?
We don't like this, but this woman is a freaking badass, so we'll clap for her.
All right, we're clapping again, guys. We're clapping for her, not the event that is happening. Okay, don't come at us. All right. Next news.
Iranian woman lashed 74 times for rejecting hijab. The Iranian regime began 2024 with intensified repression of women, exemplified by executing the sentence of Raya Hashmati to 74 lashes for defying compulsory hijab laws. During her punishment, Hashmati, a staunch critic of these laws, boldly stated, I have come to receive my lashes. I won't cover up, when the officials demanded her compliance. So let me make this clear. They sentenced her to get lashed 74 times. She shows up for them to beat the shit out of her, and they're like, okay, put on your hijab, and she's like, no, I'm not even gonna put on my hijab while you're lashing me for not wearing the hijab. Badass. Her description of the punishment room as a medieval torture chamber with iron shackles poignantly illustrates the harsh realities faced by many Iranian women. Additionally, Zainab Hunyabpour received a 2-year prison sentence for sharing photos without a hijab on social media. In a related case, Iranian singer Mehdi Zarahi faced a sentence of 2 years and 8 months in prison and 74 lashes for releasing a song criticizing the hijab laws. Despite posting bail, Zarahi's song, I'm not sure how you would pronounce this in Persian, Rusarito, or your headscarf, which encourages women to defy the mandatory hijab, highlights the growing resistance against the regime's strict dress code and crackdown on dissent in Iran. So this was just, Pakistani Defense Forces saying bravest woman on this planet. Like, the cojones doing their like, okay, you have to show up today or we're going to lash you 74 times for not wearing the hijab. And she shows up not wearing the hijab. And they're like, okay, time to comply. Put on that hijab, girl, cover yourself. She's like, no, go do it. I'm not going to wear hijab right now. Like, it's absolutely bonkers. Armin, did you hear about this case? Because I was seeing a lot about this on the like social media things that I follow on the Persian side of things.
Yes, people were on the Persian side. They were asking us to make sure that we cover this on the Persian side of Atheist Republic, and I went and checked to tell you to make sure that we have this on the news, and then I wanted to check whether or not we have this before I ask you, and then I saw that you already had covered it, so I didn't need to tell you anything. So thank you so much for that. You were ahead of me. By the way, this. Yeah, I mean, it's just barbaric. The fact that we're still talking about people being lashed in 2024, it's insane. Like, this is medieval. This is barbaric. I don't even know if any of this needs to be said.
Oh, you want to talk about medieval Iranian punitive justice? Don't worry. It's about to get a lot worse later in the show. This is light.
Oh, no.
This is easy.
This, there was an artist, I think it was a poet. I forgot. I don't remember his name. I'm bad his names. In Iran, that because of drinking alcohol, they were giving him 100 lashes, and the person who was doing the lashes, instead of 100, he gave him 101 lashes, right? And the people who were doing the counting, they were like, okay, we did one extra. And they went to the poet and they were like, okay, because we did one extra lash, you can now do one lash against the person that was lashing you, right? So they were like, you can do this now because we gave you too much. And the poet said that, I'm not going to do that. A human would not lash another human being. Like, that's not me. I wouldn't do that. And the person that was doing the lashing just dropped crying, like sobbing for, like, I just lashed this man 100 times and he wouldn't even do it once to me because he says that's not my humanity. So it just reminded me of that story. That's something that I just recently heard about that happened in Iran. But anyways, I think that, I don't know, I think that we will overcome this. It's just so bizarre that a country with this mindset, these people, like, I think the Iranian people deserve so much better than this, like so much better than this. Like, one of the most liberal minded people in the world. Like, we don't see people this much into secularism, this much into liberalism, this much into freedom of speech. These people have this government. It's truly one of the most undeserving. I don't understand how everything come together to have this. Is such a curse, such a disease, and so much had to go wrong for this to happen to Iran, and it all went wrong. And if you look at the history, and I don't just blame Islam for what's happening to Iran. I also blame, the communists, the progressives, because again, the Islamists by themselves would not be able to screw a country this badly. If you go look at the history, it was the Islamists and the communists that did this to Iran. Which I, by the way, wrote an article about, which is going to be published soon on Queer Majority.
I was about to ask you, when is that getting published?
It's getting published soon. Very soon.
That's going to be so good. Yeah. These people deserve a lot of praise.
Yeah.
Because most of us wouldn't have the strength and courage to do this.
Yeah.
And especially,
by the way,
continued, I think what's most impressive is like the continued defiance in the face of the brutality. Yeah. It's just legendary.
Right. But by the way, there's some misinformation in the live chat. It's not the support for the government based on the polls that we have is not 20%. It was 12% a couple of years ago. So I'm 12%, and I think it's a lot less now after the master revolution. I think, I don't know, I wouldn't be surprised if it had dropped by half. Like I think by now it's either 8 or 6% or something like that, if I had to guess. But last time there was a scientific poll, it was 12%.
Mm.
Yeah.
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 Oh, speaking of hijab enforcement, we got another story regarding that coming up.
Right. By the way, guys, we're still demonetized. This stream is still demonetized. So please keep supporting us with memberships and super chats, because we will. And also, actually, you know what? If you cannot support us financially, please make sure you like the stream, because I just want to make sure that this content that we, first of all, the reason why we ask for you super chat is because me and Susanna are doing this a lot more, spending a lot more hours on our streams than we used to, right? So there's a lot of other things that we're not doing, and doing this because you guys have shown us that there's a lot of demand for this, right? So for us to be able to continue do this and not do other things, that's why the super chats and the memberships and all of that helps, right? But again, if you cannot support us financially, please make sure you like the stream right now. Everybody that is watching, make sure at least you like it, because that's free. That doesn't cost you anything. And once the show is over, make sure you leave a comment under the show, because if the channel grows, then we will be able to sustain ourselves financially enough to just be able to continue doing this indefinitely, right? So at least do that. At least make sure you like the stream. But yeah, let's go on.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So is the next one clappable?
I don't really have a silver lining to this one, unfortunately.
No silver lining. Okay. No clapping then. All right.
Oh, but Nasrin just gave us a super chat.
Oh,
Thank you, Nasrin
thank
June.
you.
Khayli Mamnoon, saying woman, life, freedom. Exactly.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So no clapping. I almost clapped. All right. Next news.
Next news. Taliban's dress code tyranny. Afghan women face arrest over hijab. The Taliban's recent enforcement of a strict dress code in Kabul, leading to the arrest of women for wearing bad hijab, marks a further erosion of women's rights in Afghanistan. This crackdown, confirmed by Abdul Ghaffar Farooq, a spokesman for the Taliban's Ministry of Virtue and Vice, adds to existing bans on education, employment, and public access for Afghan women. Farooq described the detained women as, quote, a few limited women who spread bad hijab in Islamic society, but did not clarify the criteria for bad hijab. The Taliban's directive mandates that women not only show their eyes and preferably wear a burqa, echoing their previous rule in pre-2001. The arrests, which involve female police officers and potential judicial proceedings or strict bail conditions, come amidst international scrutiny over the Taliban's treatment of women. The UN Security Council's proposal for a special envoy to address gender and human rights issues in Afghanistan was dismissed by the Taliban, and the US State Department expressed concerns about the Taliban's repressive actions, stating, quote, that they made irreparable damage to Afghan society and further moved the Taliban away from normalizing with the international community. So I thought that this was important to talk about for a few reasons. One, people, and I don't know how accurate this is, but people have been talking about how it seems like the Taliban is almost moving to like a Iran model in a way, with some form of like morality police. But my understanding, and I mean, I could always be wrong, is that there was always like generalized enforcement, right? Because I mean, there's Talibs like walking around the street. And second, because I want to still talk about what's happening to the people in Afghanistan. And it's difficult because I genuinely don't know what we can do to assist people in Afghanistan. But we can't like just forget about it and write it off. It still is worth highlighting and raising awareness about and like making sure that people don't forget exactly how bad it is. But Armin, what do you think? Have you heard about this at all?
Yes, yes. I mean, I heard the news. Yes. On Iran International, I think I heard it. Yeah, or BBC Persian. But here's the thing. So, two things. Why is Taliban so insisting on this? Even though a lot of they desperately need international recognition. Are they insane? Um, they're not insane. The I mean, if they were insane, it would be easier to get rid of them. But they're not insane. You have to understand the game they're playing here. Um, the strategy here is that the people who have bled for Taliban, the people who have died for Taliban, the people who have lost loved one for Taliban, they did this specifically for an Islamic state, for an Islamic government, right? So if you were a Taliban, one of the Taliban leaders, you have to understand that if you do not enforce Islamic Sharia, people within your by the way, I'm not defending any of this. I hope you understand that I'm not defending of it, people. I am just telling you what the mindset is. So I'm just if you would think that if they need money right now, because the Taliban, they like money, they like more trade, they like to be able to have more economic growth, but their survival will be at stake if they do not enforce the laws where their members fought for. Like, the main reason that they were fighting Americans and everyone else was not economic prosperity. Like, the members, they didn't die, they died for Islam. They went and killed for and bled for Islam. And if you don't give them Islam, they will turn on you, or they will leave the Taliban and join ISIS, because ISIS will come and say, oh, look at these Taliban, look at the Taliban agreeing to the Americans, sitting with Americans, doing deals with Americans. They're going soft. They're not enforcing Islamic law. So, I mean, just a fraction of your membership leaving you and joining ISIS will be a nightmare, right? The amount of headache that ISIS Khorasan could have for the Taliban and Afghanistan. I mean, even economically looking at it, the level of instability that would cause for Afghanistan would mean that, so you either get no investments because people are like, oh, you're against women's rights, or you will get no investments and no trade because you didn't enforce Islamic law. So people have left the Taliban and joined ISIS, and now there's internal conflict, and that's the reason why people are not investing with you and trading with you, right? So I just want to make it you understand that it's more complicated than, oh, Taliban caveman enforcing hijab law. Like, I mean, it is that. I'm not denying that it's that, but sometimes we make this seem a lot more simple than it is. I mean, I'm not sympathizing with these guys, right? But I just wanted you to put yourself in the position of a Taliban leader, and you realize that they think about these things, right? It's not that easy. And also, I also now want to support people who are the international community, because a lot of people are like, oh, why are people not getting rid of Taliban? Why are they talking to them? Why are they negotiating with them? I mean, you're insane if you think that that there's anything that could be done about this. I mean, you're not insane, but it's not that easy. Like, this is what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? They are the look at what Afghanistan is like. There's a lot of support for the Taliban. There's a lot of support. It's not
Oh yeah.
Afghanistan is not Iran. Okay, there's not. I mean, if you go to Kabul, if you go to universities in Kabul, you would think like people in Afghanistan are liberal and secularists. But or if you look at the activists in Afghanistan, if you listen to them, you would think like, oh my God, look at the women in Afghanistan. They're so liberal. They're so secular. But that is not the majority of Afghanistan, right? The picture, I mean, those women are amazing. They're brave. Like the women's protesting in Kabul against the Taliban,
Oh, it's
they are,
insane.
they are amazing. They are, I mean, they should be, I mean, they probably would not like to hear what I'm saying right now. They will probably not like my message right now, but I hats off to them for their bravery, but they do not represent the majority of women in Afghanistan. There's two things that people in Afghanistan, you have to understand that they care about. First of all, they do care about Islam. Like, they do want Islam, right? Unlike most of the Iranian people who don't want Islam in their government, most of the people in Afghanistan, unfortunately, do want that.
And we can see
And
this based
also,
on Pew Research polling from when the previous government was still in power and fully protected by the might of the US military.
yes,
Like
yes. And
Afghanistan
also,
beforehand still had the death penalty for blasphemy. Like this is not some secular paradise.
right. And by the way, honestly, right now, the best situation, unfortunately, for Afghanistan is to just have let Taliban be Taliban, because the alternative is internal war. I mean, I say that as an atheist that is against Islam. Right now, as bad as the Taliban is, the alternative would be war. The alternative would be internal conflict. The alternative would be complete instability. This is what the international community has realized. Like, the reality of Afghanistan is that this is Taliban's Afghanistan. This is
Well, they say
Taliban's
this is where
Afghanistan.
empires go to die. They say that for a reason.
Yeah,
One
yeah.
thing that really frustrates me when people are like, and I don't want this is not a criticism directed towards the Afghan activists that have sacrificed more than I can ever comprehend to give a voice to their people. This is a criticism for people that for lack of a better term, like just came online. I mean, like mentally, where they start criticizing, like, oh my God, the US, like, how could you turn your back on this? Like, what happened to supporting these values? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, where were you guys for the past 20 years where the only thing that people would talk about would be leaving Afghanistan?
Mm.
Have you noticed that, Armin? It was like literally there was such a low amount of support in America
Yeah.
for our intervention in Afghanistan. And then we pull out and leave because Biden had the balls to do it. Even though it went horribly, it went like as bad as it can go, incredibly unpopular, only to
Mm.
see this immediately come back into power. And people are like, why are you not doing anything? Because do you see what happened like over the last 20 years? Like it was not popular. It didn't go well. I mean, what do you think about my admittedly somewhat knee-jerk reaction to that?
No, no, yeah. The same people who are many times the same people who ask for United States to stop intervening, as soon as the United States stops intervening, are sometimes the same people who are like, oh, why are you abandoning these people? Yeah.
It really frustrates me. I'm like, well, which is it?
Yes. By the way, the US leaving Afghanistan, a lot of people saw that as a sign of United States becoming weak and not being able to defend the Taliban. But actually, now that we look at what's happening long term, it actually might be a sign of United States becoming way more powerful. And the United States is becoming so powerful that it doesn't care much about what's happening in Afghanistan. Some people, like, it's it's becoming less important for United States to meddle in Middle East and the area surrounding the Middle East, because it's much less reliant on it for energy than before. Um, United States main focus is going to be on, Taiwan and the area surrounding that in the maybe couple of next decades or so. I'm not saying that's the correct analysis, but I'm saying that's some people's analysis, some economists' analysis on what situation. Yeah, United
Mhm.
States is actually, a lot of people thought that United States is a falling empire, Right now, the data shows actually that it's actually the other way around. The gap between United States and China is increasing. It's not decreasing. China is not going to replace the United States as a superpower. United States is actually going to become more of a superpower. Again, I'm not saying this is the correct analysis, but I'm just saying this is what the recent data shows, that people have been wrong about that. Another thing is that the solution for, seems for Afghanistan is, again, a bottom-up approach. The Taliban is going to be here for the foreseeable future. If you want to see Afghanistan grow out of this phase, we need to get to the people. We need to change the mindset. You're not going to be able to change the government. I think that things are going to get better. You need to change the mindset of the people, and I think that and that's what the Taliban also understands. That's why they want to make sure that they maintain control over the education system. And I think the only way out of this is satellite internet and cheap phones, eventually cheap phones that directly could connect to satellite internets in the future. I think that's, having AI as educators, having satellite internet and phones that could directly connect to the internet is how we're going to be able to bring liberalism to China, to Afghanistan, and even to North Korea at some point.
Yeah, but I mean, this is generations.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I just clicked to see, and we have a lot of super chats we need to catch up on.
Thank you, guys.
First of all, Vikram is saying, hi, Armin and Susanna. Hi, friend.
Hi.
And also Mariam June saying, morning, my angels. Miss you, Susie. I miss you too. Mariam. Delan tange barat. I'll just call this person HT. HT just became a member. Welcome to Satan's Minions.
Lower your camera a little bit so it's not covering your face. Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Rango just gave a super sticker. Thank you. And Gazan American is saying, is there a politician in Iran that might create an Islam with humane characteristics, the same way that Deng had communism with Chinese characteristics?
There is no Islam with human characteristics. Islam will always, by definition, be connected to the Quran. And the only way for you to have an Islam with human characteristics is for you to be able to separate Islam from the Quran. And if you do that, it's not Islam anymore. So there's no such thing.
Yeah. Uzair gave us a super chat. Thank you, saying this super chat is a jihad against the religious hypnotherapeutic subconscious mind manipulations suppressing humanity all over the world.
Thank you.
Thank you. And David Costa gave us a $20 super chat. Thank you, David. Saying, really enjoying your views. Thank you, Armin in Seattle. Well, thank you for supporting Atheist Republic, David. It helps a lot.
Thank you.
Oh my God. Okay. So now we have to go into another story. And we're going to clap only because we're going to be absolutely dunking on the freaking terrorist mullahs that control Iran. How about that?
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Next news.
Next news. Medieval brutality in modern Iran. Authorities amputate fingers for theft. In a striking example of archaic punishment practices, Iranian authorities have recently sentenced 2 individuals to finger amputation for theft, as reported by the human rights network HRANA. This act is part of a broader trend of using corporal punishment in Iran, where over 130 people have suffered finger amputation in the past 23 years. Amnesty International's deputy director for the Middle East and North Africa, Diana El-Tahawi, condemned these practices, stating, quote, these amputations are particularly harrowing displays of the Iranian authorities' contempt for human rights and dignity. She highlighted that such punishments are often inflicted on impoverished individuals lacking proper legal representation. El Tahawaii, sorry, further emphasized the urgent need for international intervention, warning that, quote, with impunity rife in Iran, more and more people will be subjected to this unspeakably cruel punishment unless the international community takes action. The Islamic Penal Code in Iran sanctions a variety of brutal punishments, including amputation, which is carried out using a guillotine. So I wanted to cover this because we were talking about this recently, and a bunch of people in the live chat didn't believe me when I said that this was a thing.
Oh, really?
And yeah.
Oh, yeah,
And
it's completely a thing.
and then literally a week or two later, this comes up in the news that this is another sentence that they are moving forward with. So I wanted to talk about this because I want people to understand that when we are engaged with negotiations with the Islamic Republic, that this is not a normal state. This is not, oh, just another nation state, blah, blah, blah. This is an abnormal actor, as evidenced by the fact that they carry out judicially mandated torture, of which this is an example. And a lot of times, this is supposedly carried out in a medical setting by doctors. There are instances where people who've had their fingers amputated by the authorities almost die because of the infections that they received afterwards. And my understanding is that their method of amputation is basically they take off 4 fingers but leave the thumb. That's my understanding. But Armin, what do you know about these amputations?
So, 2 things. First of all, if you're stealing in Iran, make sure you steal a lot of money, right? Because right now there's many cases of corruption that have come out where people are stealing billions, and I'm not making this up, billions of dollars from different private companies and government organizations and stuff. And if it's that much money, nothing will happen to you, right? If you steal a sheep or some food or a little bit of money because your family is starving, then they will cut your fingers. But if you're one of those elite that is stealing a ton of money, then this will not happen to you. And this is something that even religious people are getting really pissed off about right now in Iran. They're like, why do you only do this to poor people? Like, this is so objectively bizarre. That why when only poor people steal, they lose their fingers. And it's so backwards because when rich people steal, you think like, okay, you had a crap ton of money, but you were just so greedy that you had to get more. But when poor people are stealing and you give them the worst, harshest punishment, it's because you have failed them. He's stealing because you have failed this man as a government. This is your fault. And instead of looking at yourself and like, what have I done that somebody needs to go steal to be able to feed his family, right? You cut off the only means that he has to maybe one day work and provide his family. Like, you not only you don't fix yourself, the only method, because you took his hand, you took his tool to be able to maybe one day work and not have to steal. Like, instead of trying to lift him up from a position that he is poor enough to be able to have to go steal to provide for his family, you make sure that there's no way out for him. What is he supposed to do? He can't lift things anymore. He can't type on keywords anymore. He can't become a barber. He can't do anything. So he's in poverty, and now you make sure that he remains in poverty. It's the most it is backwards in so many different ways. It's backwards in the sense that only poor people get this. It's backwards in the sense that these people don't deserve it because you fuck the society so much that he has to do this. It's backwards in the sense that instead of lifting these people up so that they don't have to lift them out of poverty, in other countries, when people go to jail for stuff like this, they have they teach them things. In jail they give them skills so that once they're out of prison, now they have new skills that they could work. They could be a functioning member of society.
Their education. Yeah,
they help them finish their education. Like we can you don't, at least if you can't do that, at least don't do the opposite. It's just, and it's so obvious. Like, this is so, they continue to do this even though it's so obvious, even to most religious people in Iran, that this is backwards. So, and the question is why? If it's so, Susanna, what do you think? Like, they're not, I mean, there's people that work in the Islamic Republic, in the government, unlike what most people think, they're not idiots. Okay? They're evil, but they're not idiots. If this does not work, why do you think they do this? What do you think is the game theory behind making sure that they continue to conduct evil acts like this?
Well, a show of force, a show of power, in inducing fear in the population. And what's so funny is that I've actually seen videos of American imams defending Sharia law, saying that Sharia law is actually more humane than systems of justice, say, in the United States, because in America, what they do is they send you to jail for, 10, 15 years. And then when you leave, you are stigmatized in society for being an ex-convict, right? But this imam was saying that, oh no, it's actually Sharia that is more humane, because you come and we give you your punishment physically, and then you are allowed to go back into society. You've paid your punishment. So everything, we're good now. And then you can go back into society and raise your children. You're not going to miss out on raising your children, and you can contribute economically and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, what about situations like this? You think that this guy can contribute economically? You think he's going to be any better at taking care of his kids? Are you dumb? And a lot of people that defend Sharia law, they use these arguments that basically try to take, it's so interesting when they defend Sharia law, because they are essentially adopting liberal principles of harm reduction to make arguments in favor of Sharia law, which itself is very interesting. But even when doing so, they explicitly acknowledge that the reason why it works and reduces crime rates, according to them, is because of essentially the fear in the population. So even these kind of like liberalized or like rationalized arguments in favor of Sharia that I've seen from dozens of Muslim channels and websites acknowledge that no, it's the fear that makes this work.
Right.
Like, oh my God.
By the way, Zaid, I do disagree with you here. Zaid is saying this is not Islamic. During the period when Omar was the Khalifa, there was a famine and Omar stopped carrying out the theft punishment. Well, I mean, Omar doesn't represent Islam. The Quran represents Islam. The Quran says, I would say that the Quran is actually even more barbaric than this, because they're cutting the finger. The Quran says cut the hand. So I think that, I mean, technically you're supposed to cut out the entire hand, not just the fingers. So
look at how progressive they are.
Yes, yeah.
I got a few super chats.
No, we got one super chat, but because because the super chat is referring to the previous super chat, I went back and started the other one as well. But go on.
Thank you. Shami gave us the super chat saying what Uzair Jibril said, referring to Uzair Jibril's statement again about his jihad about against religious mind manipulations. So guys, we have two comrade jihadis in live chat.
Thank you again, everyone, for the super chats. Again, I just wanted to remind you that we have been demonetized within the first 3 minutes of the show. So all these super chats really do help us continue the show. Here, let me show you. I'm just refreshing to see if I have submitted an appeal. And again, the way the appeal for the demonetization works is that it takes a couple of days for them to review it. And usually these shows they get most of their views at during the first couple of days, and by that time, even if we get the monetization back, it's just way too late. So again, thank you everybody for all the super chats. And if you can't use the super chat, at least make sure you like the stream. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Ooh, this news.
Okay, so this is interesting. And the subtext of this segment is basically going to be religious militants are why we can't have nice things. Religious militancy just sucks. Okay. So,
can you clappable?
Yes.
Yes. Next
news. Sikh separatist militants suspected of vandalism of California Hindu temples. Hindu advocates in the United States are urging temples to bolster security following a spate of vandalism incidents in California, suspected to be the work of Sikh separatist militants advocating for Khalistan, a movement seeking a sovereign Sikh homeland in the Punjab region of India and Pakistan. 3 Hindu temples in the San Francisco Bay Area were vandalized, including one defaced with phrases like Modi is a terrorist and Khalistan Zindabad. Sunil Kannan, president of the Shiv Durga Temples Board, captured the community's dismay by saying, quote, "The main thing that hurt all of us was how they misbehaved with the gods." These attacks underscore the rise of anti-Hindu hate crimes in the United States, coinciding with sustained pro-Khalistan sentiment among the Sikh diaspora in the US, UK, and Canada, despite the movement's decline in India. The Hindu American Foundation is responding by providing temples with resources to prevent vandalism and encouraging the reporting of hate crimes. Ramya Ramakrishnan of the foundation stressed the importance of community awareness and solidarity, stating, quote, "We really want our Hindu community to be aware that this is happening in your backyard. Not to be afraid, but to face this. We need to be united as a community." So this was very interesting to me because this is all happening in the Bay Area. The Bay Area, well, not all of it, but predominantly in the Bay Area is Northern California. There's been some incidents in Southern California as well, but there were a spate of 3 incidents very recently in the Bay Area where there is a high population of South Asians. And one thing that I thought was really interesting was in the articles and reporting that were written on this, there were a couple of Hindu American advocates basically saying, if this was a Jewish temple or a mosque or a church, this would get way more outrage and condemnation than than this has gotten. And I think that is partly because the broader American public really has no idea what to even think about this. It's not going to catch media attention because it's, South Asian on South Asian crime. Like, this seems like some kind of internal thing that's now over here. Like, we don't really understand it. We don't know what to make of it. It doesn't seem like it's white supremacy related. So, yeah, it's not interesting enough to report on. But I think it's very concerning to see the rise of Sikh separatist militancy in the Bay Area. I'm like, this isn't Vancouver. What's happening?
It's so insane. What is the play here? Like, why isn't this harming your cause? Going after Hindu temples? I mean, do Hindu temples now represent India's politics, like India's government?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah,
it would be as if going out and vandalizing a mosque because you're anti-Saudi Arabia, maybe not even a mosque that is Saudi. I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird form of activism. Like, this is
Yeah.
going to not get you a lot of sympathizers doing this.
Yeah, and this is one of the most
Weird.
obvious examples of anti-Hindu hate in the United States that I've seen.
Right.
And
Yeah.
ironically, in a way that American media is not going to be able to comprehend. It's not done by like white people that don't like immigrants or something. Like there was an example in the Bay Area that happened where there was this dude that was being super racist to this Indian guy in in some sort of restaurant or something, and people were outraged. And then it came out that that guy was actually Sikh and like South Asian himself, and he was like being so bigoted to this Indian dude, it was crazy. And then as soon as people determined that, like they dropped it. It's of no relevance or importance to them. That's the game, apparently.
Right. By the way,
no, see, Pakistani Defense Force is saying, Susanna, it's not anti-Hindu hate. These Sikhs just want their own country. It is anti-Hindu hate when you are randomly targeting a Hindu institution. Right. What the fuck are you talking about? What the fuck do these random Hindus have to do with the government of India? They're not representatives of the Modi government. What are you talking about? You know how these people are so crazy that they go attack the San Francisco consulate that represents India in the middle of the city, where literally they break in and plant Khalistani flags in the middle of the SF consulate. That is Indian territory. They are attacking Indian territory for the sake of Khalistan. In fact, I used to walk by the consulate there all the time. And one time I saw a pro-Khalistan protest happening in front of the consulate, and I almost went to go talk to them, and I got within a block, and I was like, oh, fuck no, this is a horrible idea.
Right.
I got intimidated quick. I was like, back off, Susanna, just go get your coffee and move on.
So I want to make a couple points. First of all, me and Susanna are very much against the Indian government. Am I correct, Susanna? I just want to speak on your behalf, on behalf of you.
I'm against the Hindutva movement. I'm not against the
current
Indian government as an idea.
Well, not as an idea. This current version of it. Not obviously we support India, and India has to have a government. I'm not against like, oh yeah, we want anarchy in India. That's not what I'm saying. Obviously, this version, this government that it has, right? But if I have to decide between supporting even this Indian government and separatists, I would choose even this Indian government. Like if I have to choose, even though easy. If I as much as anti-BJP that I am, between BJP and separatists, I would choose BJP, because between order and disorder, I would choose order, right? I am very much against separatist movements, right? I support the border integrity of all nation states, and that includes India and Ukraine, for example. And anybody who wants to challenge that, we stand against them here. So, unless there's a separatist movement that is doing it completely politically and is trying to use political means to convince the government there to have a referendum for some part of the government for some part of the country to secede or whatever, any other separatist movement that is trying to use intimidation tactics as a way to challenge border integrity, we support the governments of all countries when it comes to trying to fight for their border integrity, right? So there's that.
Sorry, I have to respond to this because it's literally just too much fun. Pakistan Defense Force is saying, Susanna, the civil rights movement, blacks took extreme measures for their rights. This is completely different. There's a difference between fighting for your rights within a nation state and equality under the law. I have no objection to that. This is a movement to secede and take territory from India and Pakistan. For someone whose name is Pakistani Defense Force, I would think that you would like to defend your borders, sir. Okay, so Second of all, the idea of Khalistan is a horrible idea. One,
Mm.
because I don't know, I think having a tiny landlocked country in between two nuclear states doesn't sound like a recipe for success. Just a thought. Second of all, they want to establish a religious theocracy. And I don't love the idea of people being underneath religious rule and strict guidance just because they've had some persecution in the past. I don't like that. I don't like it. If Sikhs want to fight for their rights within the Indian nation state, they're welcome to. In fact, there are many examples in which they have privileges above other Indian citizens. Partly because the Indian government does not want to fuck around and find out.
Mhm.
So that is such a false analogy. Like, I don't even know where to begin. Oh my god.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to continue making the couple of the points that I wanted to make. Here's another thing. A lot of people think we are anti-Hindu people because we're anti-Hinduism, and we're not. I mean, I'm going to use this opportunity as an example to say that we completely support the Hindus here who are suffering from violence and vandalism, right? So a lot of people who follow our shows because we're anti-religion, they think we have something against Hindu people, and they don't understand that we just don't like religion. We just don't like religious ideology. And again, here we want to show, me and Susanna would like to take the opportunity to show our support to the Hindus who are suffering because of this vandalism here, right? So we definitely, if we have to choose a side between the Khalistanis who are doing something like this, again, not all Khalistan people, not all Sikhs, I must say, but whoever is doing this,
okay,
yeah,
wait,
yeah,
go ahead.
No, I just say if we have to choose a side, we choose the Hindus who are suffering from this intimidation. But go on, you want to say something?
I need to add on another point to what I was saying earlier. A third reason why Khalistan is a horrible idea is because there's actually a distinct lack of support for it within India. This is diaspora LARPing. You want to know what this is? This is diaspora LARPing.
That's good. And also, I think Pakistani Defense Forces support for Khalistan has more to do with the fact that he's Pakistan Defense Force you can see his username. Again, reminds me of how people act like they support Palestinians, but it's mostly that they hate Jewish people and they don't actually care about Palestinian people. And a lot of Pakistanis supporting this movement, to me, suggests that they don't actually care about these people's struggles, and this is just an anti-India position that they're taking.
You just like to destabilize your neighbor.
Yes, exactly, which is actually stupid because that will kind of destabilize your own borders, As Pakistan,
I wonder if we have any examples of that in Pakistani history. Shocking. Do you think that might come to bite you in the ass? Oh my god.
That was good. That's good. All right, so we have super chats, and then that's it, right? Then the super chats. Guys, make sure you don't leave without liking the stream. Again, likes are important. We wouldn't be asking you to like the stream if it didn't have an effect. Every time you like the stream, more people will end up seeing the stream, because the way that YouTube algorithm works is that it's like, oh, somebody else liked this, let me show the stream to more people. So you have that power. Some people are going to watch these content because you decided to like the stream. And also good for you as well, because when you like the stream, YouTube will realize what you watch, and it will become smarter in its algorithm to make sure you see other things that are important to you. So it benefits you also when you like a stream. You're also training YouTube's algorithm about what you like. Anyway, so let's go through the super chats.
Kenny just gave us €5 with no comment. Thank you, Kenny. And thank you for helping me out this week, Kenny. I appreciate it. He's one of our amazing volunteers. Raziel gave us $5 super chat saying, I'm kind of curious if Susanna can pronounce my name correctly. Armin always gets it right. Anyways, have some money. Well, tell me, did I
Oh,
pronounce it right?
no, I say Razel.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. How did you get Razael? There's no.
I don't know.
Okay.
I just went full biblical angel with it. Oh my God. And Gazan gave us a $5 super chat. Thank you, Gazan, saying Falun Gong at least puts on anti-CCP dances. The Sikh separatists should learn from that.
No, don't learn anything from Falun Gong. But yeah.
Well, for those who don't know what Gazan American is talking about, he's talking about Shen Yun, which is a dance troupe that does very beautiful dancing, but hides a lot of anti-CCP propaganda in it.
Yes.
And
not that we like the CCP.
No, but
Yeah.
Falun Gong is very cringe and racist and also very abusive.
Yes, guys, we're not denying that the Falun
dances. I mean, he's kind of right. I mean, maybe we need some.
Have you seen it? Okay, but guys, again, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to remind everybody that it's true that the Falun Gong people have been brutally discriminated against and violently been, oppressed by the Chinese government. Okay, and this does not contradict the fact that they themselves are a dangerous cult. Okay, so we support them when it comes to them not being tortured and oppressed, but we do not support them when it comes to how dangerous and of a cult they themselves are. Okay, and just because we're pointing out that they're the dangerous cult, that doesn't mean that we condone and we support the CCP's treatment of them, right? The same thing goes with the MEK. Falun Gong reminds me of MEK, right? Because both Falun Gong and MEK have been brutally suppressed by the governments, the MEK by the Islamic Republic of Iran and Falun Gong by the Chinese government, right? And both of them are evil, dangerous cults, but we do not support their oppression by their governments, right? So
obviously, yeah.
Yes.
I just wanted to highlight this comment because I liked it. Dr. Jagriti Singh said, hate this BJP government to the core. But as a Dalit, these Hindus and Sikhs in the West were both aggressive and castists. Well, some, not all. I am leftist, but I do agree with you guys, and you give me new perspective. Love you guys. Well, thank you.
Wow.
I appreciate you sharing your perspective.
Yes. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love her.
So yeah, that's our show for today.
That's good. Nice and sweet, short and simple. Great. All right, guys. So remember, like the stream, leave a comment after the show is over under the video. If you want to support us even more, you could go and tell other people that they need to come here and subscribe to the Atheist Republic. Tell them that we have the best takes and this is a valuable channel to subscribe to. Share our videos. All of that is free. It doesn't cost you anything and it really helps us out, right? So a lot of you guys have been doing all of these things and that's why our channel is growing. So thank you to whoever is doing that. So yeah,
I have one more plug. If you're like, these people, they're so biased, they didn't cover this. Okay, you know what? There's a high possibility I didn't hear about the news that you want us to talk about because, we're a small team. And if you want to make sure that we cover something that you find interesting, you can give us new suggestions because I help pick out the stories every week. In the link in the description. If you join our Discord, again, link is in the description, you can go to our news channel and give me suggestions if you see something that you want covered on the show. So just a thought.
Yeah. Space Leah is saying thank you, Armin and Susanna. By the way, guys, me and Susanna do spend time reading the comments. We don't have time to reply to all of them, but we do read the comments. So please do also leave some feedback and on your, and any word of encouragements or complaints in the comments. We do appreciate both. All right. Okay.
I had fun today.
Soon. Yeah, me too. Yeah.
For everyone that's in our community.
All right. Bye, guys. Mwah.